Let's set the scene. You have a product, you have a service, you have a brand. You got a brand, and you want to drive awareness to that brand. You want people to know about this brand. You believe that you have some product market fit, and if people would only hear about your brand, you will get customers, you will get users, you will get investors, you will get employees, you will get the world. So, how do you make people hear about your brand? How do you get press? Or maybe you just need backlinks. Maybe you got a website. You're doing bottom of funnel search engine optimization. You are targeting keywords, things that people search where they know what they want. They don't know the brand that's going to give it to them. Again, you got a brand and you're using SEO to get it in front of the people who want to buy what you are offering. But you need backlinks in order to rank. You need to get your brand authority. So how do you do that? And it's the same thing that I will be sharing on this episode of The Edward Show, episode 228 of my daily growth hacking, growth marketing podcast. I've talked about this a little bit before, but I'm going to share how it's done in the year 2024, how people are doing it. Now, I want to give a disclaimer. This is going to be a bit dirty of an episode. There's going to be some mud in this episode, and I am not endorsing this. I am not condoning this. I am not saying I do this, but this is how people are doing it in the year 2024. But this idea is old. This idea comes from Ryan Holiday, who wrote Trust Me, I'm Lying, maybe the best marketing book ever, one of the best marketing books ever. I recommend this book all the time. And there's a concept in the book called trading up the chain. So I'm going to read an excerpt from the book about trading up the chain. I can turn nothing into something by placing a story with a small blog that has very low standards, which then becomes the source for a story by a larger blog, and that, in turn, for a story by larger media outlets. I create, to use the words of one media scholar, a self-reinforcing news wave. This happens, by the way, every day. This happens all the time. And now this is the story of how the media was manipulated for a good cause, without any of the negatives associated with Ryan Holiday's infamous clients like American Apparel. This is a good cause story. And this is the story. A friend of mine recently used some of my advice on trading up the chain for a charity he runs. This friend needed to raise money to cover the costs of a community art project and chose to do it through Kickstarter, the crowdsourced fundraising platform. With no advertising budget, no publicist, and no experience, his little video did nearly 500,000 views and funded his project for the next 2 years. It went from nothing to something. Following my instructions, he made a YouTube video for the Kickstarter page showing off his charity's work. Next, he wrote a short article for a small local blog in Brooklyn and embedded the video. As expected, the Huffington Post bit and ultimately featured the story as local news in both New York City and Los Angeles. Then he sent an email from a fake address with these links to a reporter at CBS in Los Angeles, who then did a television piece about it. When the CBS News piece came out and the video was up, he was ready to post it all on Reddit. It made the front page almost immediately. Making the front page of Reddit is a huge deal and gets you tons of traffic. I have been number one on the front page of Reddit multiple times, and it is really crazy. Going back to the story, the score on Reddit put the story on the radar of what I call the major cool stuff blogs. Sites like Boing Boing, Laughing Squid, Found, and others, since they get post ideas from Reddit. This is an older story. These are older websites. From this final burst of coverage, money began pouring in, as did volunteers' recognition and new ideas. He turned one amateur video into a news story that was written about independently by dozens of outlets in dozens of markets and did millions of media impressions. It even registered nationally. He had created and then manipulated this attention entirely by himself. This raises a critical question. What exactly happened? Rather than read the rest of it, you can check out the book, but what exactly happened is journalists need stories, influencers need content, everybody needs content, and there is pressure putting on journalists to deliver stories. If something is salacious enough and something is in one publication, there is less risk to the reporter for covering that because it was already in a publication. It gets authority from one publication and then it can be shared in another publication. But different publications have different levels of scrutiny and different standards for what they will cover. So you trade up the chain. You start with a blog that has low standards. You move that to a blog that has higher standards, and so on and so forth. But this is an old concept. So how is this done now? How are people doing this now? And I am going to tell you, and it's dark. It goes against the rules. It goes against a lot of rules. But look, you're an entrepreneur. You want to get that awareness, and this is how people are doing it today. Rumors. Rumors are started. Salacious rumors involving big names and big brands are started and put on websites like 4chan. So this is a common strategy. This is the strategy that I'm going to share in this episode that is still possible in 2024. I just heard about it from some people. That's it. This is a strategy. The salacious rumor involving big names, big brands gets put on 4chan. Different IP addresses are used to comment on that 4chan post to give it some traction. A screenshot of that 4chan post is put on the 4chan subreddit of reddit.com. People buy upvotes to that post. This is about a salacious story, so it doesn't look like it's manipulated because it's engaging, it's salacious, people enjoy reading it. The story may or may not be true, but it is still engaging, it is still enjoyable to read. This then is taken and sent to blogs with lower standards. Trending number 1 on the 4chan subreddit of reddit.com isn't the most impressive thing, but it's impressive enough to land you into some decent blogs. You get on these decent blogs, you trade up the chain a little bit, and then you get into a blog that is accepted by bigger subreddits. Now, here's the thing about reddit.com. Again, I've never done this. I only know this from other people. I share lots of crazy stories on this podcast, and I meet lots of crazy marketers. But the thing about reddit.com is that it has pretty strict filters in for news websites that are allowed to be shared without mod approval. So mostly the biggest news websites are allowed without mod approval, and smaller ones on the biggest subreddits require moderator approval. So these people, they trade up the chain. They get onto those big publications. It could even be a little story on a back page of the big publication, but it's on that root domain. They take that, they put it on Reddit, they buy more upvotes for that, and now it's in a top spot on one of these huge subreddits, and this gets it real attention, just like Ryan Holiday described. And if the story is salacious enough, it may have already gone viral well before this. Or maybe it's an influencer who's doing it about themselves or their product or their brand, and so they already have traction. They are able to take it just straight from the 4chan subreddit and share it with their audience, and then their audience shares it for them. And that makes it go viral. This is a very common tactic for taking salacious stories that have viral potential and then actually making them go viral. And it's crazy and it's dark and it's against the terms of service. So that's why I'm not advising it. But my job on the show is to share marketing tactics from all over the place. White hat, black hat, gray hat, green hat, purple hat, all the hats. Sharing all the hats on this show. And that's what I'm doing. So this is just one of many tactics that I share on the show. You don't have to do this. I don't do it. And I still get tons of visibility and awareness. So you don't have to do stuff like this. But many marketers are doing these things. Trust me, I'm lying. Amazing book. Totally recommended. I'm going to include a link to the book in the show notes. And thank you so much for listening to episode 228 of The Edward Show. Let me know what you think on this one. Just sharing the crazy marketing stories that I hear, I will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye now.